Hi! Welcome to this video. Have you been called clingy in relationships before? Do you sometimes get a sense of anxiety or dread that maybe your partner is pulling away? In this video, we are going to discuss what at first may appear like irrational feelings, and there's a perfectly rational explanation. So if you want to learn more about your behavior and why you feel the way you feel, make sure you keep watching. But first, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I just realized that I'm matching my PowerPoint slide, and I did not do that on purpose, so I think that's pretty cool. I'm wearing like purple, the yellow, and it's kind of like the grayish color, so pretty cool. All right, let's get started. My name is Bridget. Thank you for visiting my channel. I'm a family nurse practitioner, and today we're going to be discussing, are you clingy and is this bad? So how many of you have been in a relationship and you feel like, or you've been told, or whether it's a guy or a girl, because it happens in both genders, you're so clingy, I need my space, ugh, blah, 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 right? And how do you react? Or have you been in a relationship or you're dating someone and you're normally a really stable person, but all of a sudden you just start to like become obsessed, like, I feel like they're pulling away. Do they like me as much as I like them? And you start to have all these thoughts and insecurities that you've never had before. So today we're going to discuss why that is happening. The first thing I want to tell you is you're not crazy. You're just super perceptive. The work that I'm discussing here today is based on attachment theory, which was originated by John Bowlby. And then there's a book called Attached by Amir Levine. The book is absolutely fascinating. I am not getting paid to promote them. I just am so passionate about this topic that I want to scream it from the rooftops. I want to help people get in healthier relationships. If you're watching this video, you're most likely an anxious attachment style. I have another video that discusses attachment theory and what characterizes each attachment style. So if you're wondering about that, you can watch that video. I will put a link to the video at the end. What is the anxious attachment style? You have a super sensitive attachment style, aka it's very perceptive to subtle nuances. You have a sixth sense that other attachment styles don't have. Signs that you're an attachment style: you are called needy or clingy, and you get attached quickly to a romantic partner. And one thing that I wanted to say is there's been a lot in the entertainment industry or in circulating in the self-help world that's like, oh, my partner doesn't make me happy, I make myself happy. Kind of yes and no. Even though you are responsible for your happiness, the person that you choose to be with, they do factor in your happiness level. I'll give you an example. If you marry, if you're a stable person with a job, and you marry a person that beats you, or you marry a drug addict, right? That's not going to affect your happiness? Of course it's going to affect your happiness level. Now, what if you pick, on a less extreme case, what if you pick someone that doesn't show you they love you? Why do we love dogs so much, right? Anytime we come home, they greet us with their tails wagging, they show us they love us, they give us this unconditional love. If you have a partner that is dismissive, never expresses to you that they care about you, of course it's going to factor into your happiness level. And don't delude yourself into thinking like, oh, something's wrong with me, I should just be happy and my partner has nothing to do with my happiness. No, that is erroneous. So your happiness does depend on who you pick to spend the rest of your life with. In fact, Amir Levine, one of the authors in here, one of his subheadings is, you're only as troubled as the relationship that you're in. And a famous philosopher, Baruch Spinoza, said, all happiness or unhappiness solely depends upon the quality of the object to which we are attached by love. So if you love someone that makes you feel less than, that belittles or demeans you or ignores you, or think of the two scenarios. What happens if you pick someone that is constantly praising you, lifting you up, calling you beautiful or handsome, making you feel great about yourself, respects you? Of course it's going to make a difference in how you feel. Sometimes people learn by case studies. So this is a case study that was included in the book. And we have a medical student, Savannah, and she started dating Adam, and she fell for him quickly, right? Just how an anxious attachment style would. It's not saying that anything is wrong with falling quickly. Just know that because you tend to fall quickly, before you start dating someone, since you fall so quickly, you kind of have to do a good screening process so that you don't fall for them and then put up with whatever they dish out to you once you've fallen in love with them or fallen for them. Adam was an aspiring actor, and bad news for Savannah. He gave her mixed signals. That's a classic avoidant. And if you want to see my other video on attachment theories, you can learn more about avoidance. He gave her mixed signals about wanting to be together, and this unnerved her. It changed her behavior, and she became completely destabilized. She would check her phone constantly, obsess about him, and track his activity online. She made a false internet persona so she could talk to him in chat rooms. She noticed that he was flirting with other girls in the chat room. She went from resilient to being described by her psychoanalyst as displaying masochistic borderline personality traits. So of course, from the outside looking in, we've all known people that are in unhealthy relationships and we're like, why don't you just leave them, right? It makes no sense. So that's where the psychoanalyst was saying, wow, you're a masochist because this person's hurting you and you just keep coming back for more. So she was not masochistic or borderline, but she had a super sensitive attachment style. And the attachment system is the mechanism in our brain that's responsible for tracking and monitoring the safety and availability of our attachment figures. And it's, think of, for example, a toddler playing in a room. If his mother is there, the toddler is fine and he can wander about the room. But if the mother leaves the room and the toddler notices, he's going to start crying and scream and go for his mommy. So that's kind of like with the anxious attachment style. If you know that your partner is there for you, then you do not become destabilized and show these weird and irrational behaviors that you're like, what is going on with me? If you have an anxious attachment style, you possess a unique ability to sense when your relationship is threatened. So even the smallest indicator of trouble is enough to activate your attachment style. Even the smallest threat is like alarm bells, alarm bells, alarm bells. Something's going on. You have to act, do something. And here's the thing. You can only disactivate your attachment system when you are reassured that your partner is truly there for you. You are essentially unable to calm down until you get a clear indication from your partner that he or she is truly there for you and that your relationship is safe. People with other attachment styles, they can get activated, but they don't pick up on subtle hints that people with an anxious attachment style do. There was actually a study conducted by Chris Fraley at the University of Illinois and Paula Neanderthal from Blaise Pascal University. And they wanted to test the responsiveness to social cues that the different attachment styles had. And AAS is the anxious attachment style. The anxious attachment style was much faster at perceiving facial expressions than other attachment styles. So what they did in this study is that they would show them a movie, almost like a series of pictures that would morph into a movie. And they told the participants to stop the movie at the frame where they believed that the person's expression had changed. So for example, they were like, pick the moment when you first notice that perhaps this person is upset. And every time the anxious attachment style were more likely to perceive the emotion earlier than other people. So they were able to perceive the onset of emotion earlier. So you're not crazy. When you notice that maybe your partner is pulling away or something like that, they actually are pulling away. It's almost like having, it's almost like having supersonic hearing. Like you're able to hear things that other people can't, or like a dog that can smell things that no human can. It's a heightened sensitivity. But instead of it being a sense, it's almost like an intuition that you have. However, yes, maybe your partner's upset, but maybe they're not upset at you. But because you're an anxious attachment style, you think that he's upset at you. He or she is upset at you. So you have a higher degree of accuracy and sensitivity to other people's cues. However, on the other hand, the bad thing to this is that you are quicker to jump to conclusions and misinterpret emotional states. So maybe your partner just had a bad day at work and they're upset, but you think that maybe you did something wrong and that's why they're upset. So what you can do is wait a little longer before reacting and jumping to conclusions. Activating strategies. This is when your attachment style becomes activated, and it's thoughts or feelings that compel you to get close physically or emotionally to your partner. And if your partner responds in a way that establishes security, you can revert back to your calm, normal self. Your attachment style stays activated, which is not good. So once activated, you're going to be consumed with thoughts that have a single purpose: to reestablish closeness with your partner. What do activating strategies look like, and what do people do when they are utilizing this? They will think about their partner a lot, and they will have difficulty concentrating on other things. So if they had a fight or something, their partner, they haven't heard from them, other people are able to work and go about their day, but this person can't push that aside, and they're just like fixated and thinking constantly about what's going on with their partner. Or you broke up, or this person broke up with you, and now you can only remember their good qualities. You're romanticizing the situation. You're putting them on a pedestal, and you underestimate your own talents and you overestimate theirs. This person is so wonderful. They have their life together. They have a career. I don't know why. I'm worthless. I haven't done much with my life. I don't know why this person's with me. That's putting them on a pedestal. And let's say, for example, that you're a great author, or you're a great artist, or you have your own thing going on and you're successful in your own area, but you don't see the value that you have in you. And having an anxious feeling that goes away only when you are in contact with them. This is a big one. People stay a lot of times in unhealthy relationships because they believe it's their only chance for love. There's more than 6 billion people on the planet. I know if you're watching this, maybe you feel like he's the one, maybe you feel like she's the one, maybe you feel like you'll never find anybody else. Trust me, you will find someone else, and you may find someone better who makes you happier. So things that may go through their head is, I'm only compatible with very few people. What are the chances I'll find another person that likes me? And that likes me and that I like them. It takes years to meet someone new. I'm going to end up alone. I'm going to die alone. I'm never going to meet anyone. This is all anxious attachment style. If you were avoidant, you wouldn't even be stressing somebody. You would be dating so many people. Yeah. Believing that even though you're unhappy, you'd better not let them go. So if she leaves me, she'll turn into a great partner for someone else. Or he can change. She can change. Falling in love with potential is a big one. Do not fall in love with potential. Oh, they'd be such a great person if only this. All couples have problems. We're not special in that regard. My question to you is, you may love this person, but are you happy? And if the answer is no, the purpose of love is not to suffer. So sometimes love is not enough. That's all I'm going to say for that. Thoughts that compel you to seek closeness to your partner. So this is a little bit about what I covered before, and it's thinking about your mate, difficulty concentrating on other things, thinking of only their good qualities, putting them on a pedestal, having an anxious feeling that only goes away when you are with them or in contact, and believing that this is your only chance for love. So Savannah was making herself sick to her stomach because her job was her school and her job. She was unable to complete them because she was obsessing about this boyfriend that she had. This girl was in med school and she's worried about an actor boyfriend that didn't even have a job. So she was right. Her activating strategy was right. Having an anxious attachment style can be a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing if you trust your gut, and if you feel like something is off, it most likely is, but you won't have the proof. However, it's a curse because on the other hand, you pick up on things that other people wouldn't pick up on, and you're like stressed. You're like, am I overreacting? Is this legitimate? Like, are my concerns legitimate? So she was right. Adam was watching internet porn for hours while she was at work, and he was supposedly auditioning. He was also flirting online with girls, and yet she still had a hard time breaking up with him. She finally broke up with him and years later met a great guy, and she went back to being her resilient self. And if you're reading this and you feel like, oh, this isn't a big deal, I mean, he was just flirting online with other girls, then most likely you're avoidant, because it is not appropriate for someone to be flirting online with other people while they are in a relationship, and that is a distancing strategy that he was using. He was flirting with others, he was lying to her, he wasn't really auditioning when he said he was auditioning. So when she was in this relationship, she kept doing those activating strategies and kind of excusing his behavior. So she would say things like, oh, he'll change, everyone has problems. She spent an entire year talking to her psychoanalyst about this while she was in school and obsessing over him, and she finally broke up with him. And looking back, she says that she can't believe she wasted her time in therapy examining the deep-seated roots of her fanatical behaviors. She says that if she had met a good guy sooner, one that didn't continuously activate her attachment system, she would have spared herself from the unnecessary scrutiny of her masochistic borderline personality traits. So basically what this essentially saying in layman's terms is, you fall for the wrong guy and you're an anxious attachment style, they're gonna bring out the crazy in you. For someone who gets attached very quickly and has a very sensitive attachment system, learning how the system functions is invaluable. This attachment theory is almost a hack for relationships and for picking right people. So Savannah describes that when she was in this relationship with this guy, she felt like a tightrope walker without a safety net. She was anxiously struggling to keep her emotional balance as she went through endless cycles of activation with only rare, brief respites of feeling secure before the cycle began. If you're in a relationship, if you're an anxious attachment style and you're in a relationship with an avoidant, it feels like this. Boop, 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 boop. Extreme highs and lows. The reason why she felt like this was because David was not truly available to her. He was closed off. And because he was closed off, she felt an almost constant sense of threat to the relationship. So all these seemingly erratic thoughts, behaviors, and activating strategies had one goal, and that was to establish closeness with her partner. Now, if you're an anxious attachment style, you're not a little angel either, how you're sabotaging your relationships. So this is something that sometimes people with an anxious attachment style can engage in what we call protest behavior. And protest behavior is just what it sounds like. You're acting out. Think of a toddler like they didn't get their candy and they're like, ah, I want my candy. That's protest behavior. You're acting out in an attempt to reestablish contact with your partner and get their attention. So excessive attempts to reestablish contact, calling them incessantly, and you called them once and they sent you to voicemail. Oh, hell no, he didn't send me to voicemail. Boom, 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 boom. Ring, 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 voicemail. Boom, boom, boom. I know you sent me to voicemail. Why aren't you texting me? Blah, 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 right? That's protest behavior. Withdrawing. So giving them kind of the silent treatment, turning your back to them, not speaking to them, ignoring them, keeping score. Oh, so-and-so didn't text me in 3 hours. I'm not going to text them in 3 hours. Acting hostile, rolling your eyes when they speak, looking away, getting up and leaving the room while they're talking. Threatening to leave, saying, we're not getting along, I don't think I can do this anymore, right? I'll be better off without you. And all the while hoping that they will stop you from leaving. So like, no, don't leave, I need you in my life. You can engage in manipulation such as acting busy or unapproachable, ignoring phone calls, saying you have plans when you don't, making them feel jealous. So telling your partner about someone who hit on you today, or making plans to get together with an ex for lunch. Your ex is hanging out with some friends, so you're going to go out hang with some guy friends, or you take snaps of you at a bar because you want to make him jealous. And protest behaviors can cause you to act in ways that are harmful to your relationship. And it's very important to learn to recognize them when they happen so that you can stop them and act in a healthier way. And again, the book discusses this. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that people with anxious attachment styles, it takes us longer to get over people. So you may someone else may be able to get over someone within a few months. You may be still liking that person for a full year. So they did an MRI scan of women's brains and they gave them scenarios, and they told these women to think of words like conflict, breakup, death of a partner. And they were measuring the areas of the brain that lit up to a greater degree in women with different attachment styles. And what they found is that people with anxious attachment styles, the areas of the brain that regulate emotion were less activated than other attachment styles. So basically, if you're an anxious, you feel emotions more. So you truly do feel more than other people. So people with an anxious attachment style react more strongly to thoughts of loss, and at the same time, they under-recruit regions normally used to down-regulate negative emotions. This means that once your attachment system is activated, you will find it much harder to turn it off if you have an anxious attachment style. And this is why, because the area of the brain that is supposed to think of like how our body regulates blood pressure or breathing. If your body is unable to regulate blood pressure, it's either going to go too high or too low. If our body is not as good at regulating emotions, then our emotions are going to get the best of us. And that's kind of what's happening with the anxious attachment style. Understanding your attachment system is crucial for people with an anxious attachment style. So why do they call you clingy? Most likely it's because you're with an avoidant. And they call you clingy because you want intimacy and they want space, and that can be space in either an emotional or a physical sense. Now, avoidance, their attachment style isn't healthy either. So just because you feel the need to be more intimate or close, don't feel like something is wrong with you. It's just we're all made different and we have different attachment styles. And your attachment style does not go with the avoidant. It's like water and oil. It will not mix, but you keep trying to mix. You are very sensitive to signs of rejection and they send mixed signals. So once again, you are able to perceive things way quicker than others can, and they don't send you the reassurance that you need. You find it hard to communicate your needs, and they're pretty much oblivious to your needs. They can't read and often don't care about your verbal and nonverbal cues. They don't think it's their responsibility. You need to be reassured and loved, and they tend to put you down to create distance and deactivate their attachment style. So their attachment style, you know how if you don't get enough closeness, then you start to act out. They act out when there's too much closeness, and that's why they distance themselves. You need to know where you stand in the relationship, and they prefer to keep it casual. They'll say things like, let's play it by ear. I'm not really looking for anything serious. Let's just see how this goes. Again, if you hear these things, those are all red flags. What you need to know is that if you're an anxious and you mix with an avoidant, that's a toxic relationship and not healthy. You have to stop doing that to yourself. You're just going to keep crying and crying and crying. And like I said before, you may love this person, but are you happy? If the answer is no, do you really want to live the rest of your life in an unhappy relationship because you love them? Once you leave them and you look back, you will be like, what was I thinking? I'm so much better. I feel so much better. I feel so much lighter. This nauseated feeling, this pressure in my chest has been lifted. I am free. Hallelujah. In the next video that I will be making, I will discuss why you're probably thinking now like, okay, that's great. I learned that I'm an anxious attachment style and that's okay. It's just a different way that I am. But what can I do? How can I pick people that aren't avoidants? So I'm going to discuss why do you keep picking emotionally unavailable, aka avoidant partners? Because you may feel like you're not picking them, but yes, you are, and we'll talk about that. And how can you spot emotionally unavailable people so that this doesn't keep happening? And then the question of the day is, what's one thing that you learned from this video? Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helps you learn more about yourself and it helps you pick a healthier partner. Make sure you tune in next week for the video. I will be discussing how to pick a healthier partner. That is a must-watch video. Otherwise, you will keep doing the same things over and over and over again. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button.